Good morning, everybody, for another episode of Rise Up Morning Show. I almost said After Dark. Sorry, Evan, I messed up the intro. And also, Evan's not going to be here again today, everybody. Sad. But today should be the last day. We'll have Alex coming up soon. Talk about the markets, answer a bunch of people's questions. And again, if you want to be able to ask us questions and your question is not seen in the comment section here during the live on TikTok, you can hop into the Discord. Tag us in it. Discord's free. You can join the link to the Discord right through the riseupmorningshow.com or through the link on our profile pages. Morning, dude.
What's up?
Oh, just waking up, wanting to sleep more, making a TikTok video, realizing I'm saying the same word. Instead of resilience, I'm saying resistance 3 times in the same video and having to refilm it twice because I do that again.
Amazing.
Yeah. It's fantastic. How's your morning?
It's full of dogs.
Yeah, as always. How they all doing?
I've been up since 3 with one of them.
Oh.
He's just very old, and I don't know. It's not going great.
Sad. Well, speaking of sad, but now I guess to happy, did you see that basis for everyone has made a new all-time high?
Is that the meme from yesterday?
Yeah, that's the one that totally rug pulled.
It dropped 95% and now it's back up again.
Yeah, it went up as high as an $18 million market cap before it rug pulled, and now it's been up as high as about a $23 million market cap.
Jeez. Okay.
So I guess basis for everyone. That was definitely a scenario where I feel like the people at base were like, we need to fix this, and just started buying it.
Honestly, wouldn't be surprising because the comms afterwards and the method for handling it are insane to me.
What?
Wild.
Why was it insane? Was it just like what was it? Jesse was just like, that was me, my bad.
No, there was no that was me, my bad. It was like, who pushed for this? Me. Okay. And it's cratered, and there was just the double, triple, quadrupling down on the idea. It was like, sorry, not sorry. We're going to keep experimenting and trying things. It's like making a meme is not experimenting.
Not experimenting.
Literally millions of times.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was so unfortunate because Zora is a really cool platform, and that's the one that they used, and we've been talking about it forever, but now associating it with bases pumped out fun is just not accurate, and it's not what Zora is, and now that's what a lot of people are thinking about. It was
luckily for Base and Jesse, this happened at a time where a lot of people aren't paying attention to crypto anymore. So when people come back in, it's not like they did it at the top of a bull run, right? So it was minimal. It was minimal damage.
Silver lining, but it's just the part that upsets me is that this is coming from a group who is working as if they understand the prime directive, which is
onboard the people.
Onboard people, be relatable, be authentic, and I really want to give them credit for doing what they said they were doing. Experimenting, trying stuff, making content. Okay, it's super cringe, whatever. It's something different. We're trying something new. There's departments that don't exist in other networks that are trying to make more vertical video and try to learn other platforms and other social media networks and all this kind of stuff. All these things are going well, and it's normal kinds of experiments. Okay, so this content's not performing great. What can we adjust about it and fix it? Blah, 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 blah. And then one of these methodologies to onboard the people is launch a meme. How unique. And then the main team is yup, here it is. Obviously, it does what anyone with 3 brain cells that has been around the industry for more than 8 seconds could tell you it was going to do. It exploded, and then it dumped into the ground. And I just...
But
It's
if
just
it
exhausting.
exploded and then comes back, doesn't it mean that base is superior? I don't know. Oh,
I
that'll
mean,
be the spin. That'll be
it's
the
like you
spin.
said, if they're getting the kind of backlash that they're getting about this,
It would make total sense. They would buy it to make sure it came back. Be like, see, it was successful.
yeah, like someone was just in the chat talking about the CoffeeZilla interview with the OM, the Mantra CEO, and this is it. I'm like, okay, what's next? You're gonna have to talk to Bait. Is CoffeeZilla going to cover this? Because it turns out that we can tell who bought everything.
Oh wait, I tried to send Doug a message, but I invited him up. But Doug,
Oh,
what
okay.
up?
You go. Hey, you can punt me if you want to punt me. It's cool. You can punt me.
Yeah, no. I mean,
No, it's
you're
too late. You're here now.
hey, and you're in the bathroom, so it's perfect.
I'm in the bathroom. How's it going?
It's good. It's good. How you doing, dude?
I'm a little tired. I went out last night on a school night. I went to see the band, the Badfish. You know Badfish, Sublime cover band.
Yes, I
Yes.
have heard of them.
Yeah, they were all right. So we did that. And I'm tired. I had like one drink, and that's it. I'm
I had
cooked.
one drink and
So
now I'm viciously hungover.
yep.
Oh.
How you guys doing?
Good man, good. Tired getting through it, just watching the market and trying to see if Bitcoin's about to have a pump upwards or totally collapse.
This 84 line for me is like the pivot point, and if there is a squeeze up to like the high 80s, to me that's to be the last opportunity to short, my opinion. Because by the
Yeah.
way, if he the news today, if he punts Powell, no bueno, no bueno.
Well, he can't. It's not like he can just do that.
Says who at this point?
Oh, well, that's fair. Alex said the same thing to me.
Yeah, you're thinking about a country where laws apply.
Yes. This is like the last thing. This is like the one of the last things of like a bedrock of like stability in general and like how folks see the U.S. Like it's like so to me because after Powell, it's like then the Fed is in jeopardy and like so I'm buying gold. Like that's like as of right now, like if that happens, buy gold. In my opinion, not financial advice, anyone, but
Yeah, I don't really understand because I know some people say we should get rid of the Fed, and I'm just like, and do what? It's like, well, have it stop being a private sector and have it be part of the public sector. I'm like, you want politicians in control of the money supply?
No.
Do you know how bad inflation's going to be? They're just going to print so they win elections. That's all that's going to happen. You're going to have the dollar totally inflated into oblivion. And buy gold and Bitcoin.
Yeah. So anyway, it says Powell's the final boss of crypto. It's good.
And then I would probably move out of the United States because everything would just fall apart.
Where are you going?
I don't know. I got a back door to Brazil, so we might do that. That might be our emergency.
The
Which
last
is a
thing I saw
shame.
yesterday. I agree.
Portuguese.
I agree. Did we just see Gensler yesterday be bullish on Bitcoin? I see that. Is that true? Did you see that interview? Gensler?
I saw a lot of people chat about it. People tagged me in it, and I was like, "Is this true?" And then they commented, "Oh, I just watched it. He just said that Bitcoin is better than the other altcoins." And that's all he really said. So
all right.
I'd be like, he's a Bitcoin maxi.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's unfortunate because if anyone's listened to anything that he's ever said for the past, at this point, 8 years, you would have known that that's been his opinion for the last 8 years.
Yeah.
Yes, it has been. Nothing new on that front.
All right, so let's look at the charts here. All right, guys, I'll let you go. I gotta run and say hello. Been up here a while. Yeah, but I'm just cautious overall. Like I don't know.
It's the platypus market, Doug. It's very
Platypus market. It's very confusing.
It doesn't know what it is, which end is up, and
Yeah.
I guess unlike platypuses, the only thing that it's relying on is a tweet from the White House. But that's an odd place to be in. So I feel like for people like you guys, it makes it really hard to form any sort. I mean, because you guys are people who would run your particular brand of analysis and build like short-term conviction in something to run a trade setup of some sort. And I feel like this has basically completely eliminated the ability to have conviction in the short term in anything, in any direction.
Correct. I mean, so I would say in general though, for me, from like a more macro standpoint, like I'm not like proud of this. The last 90 days has been my most successful period of trading in my entire life. just because it seems like everything's been so predictable and just in the like when there's like the insanely big moves up, I'm like, I'm gonna go short. That's it. Like it's just like waiting for these things to pop because there's like what else is behind it? It's like it's very much like crypto. I hate to say these bigger markets where it's just like there's news and then like the news dies. Like that's it. And it's just that which it shouldn't be. Stock market shouldn't be doing that, which is also why we're in this very fragile state right now. So but and I don't like it. I don't like being a bear. Being a bear is lonely. People don't
Yeah,
like people
it's
don't like people don't like bears. They don't like it. And I get it. I get it. I
mhm.
can't wait to be bull again.
No, it's interesting you mentioned that because it's just such a different personality trait for the stock market to be so reactive to news out of like tweets and shit. Like the stock market has had days where it has been up or down to a higher degree than Bitcoin or some altcoins.
Yeah,
And
dude.
that's weird. It's
Not
not
normal.
that's not normal. No, not at all. It's
We don't
weird.
want that. We don't want that. You do not want that for global markets to react that way. And I'm looking at some of the charts too. I'm looking at like the yen. I'm looking at the Nikkei, and I'm like all these charts look the exact same for the most part, roughly. And I'm like, so literally one person, regardless of your thoughts, the one person or not, the ability to move global markets is absolutely absurd and like not a good thing in general. It's just not. There's the stability isn't there, and the uncertainty is not. It's not good. So.
Yeah, Doug, yesterday I pulled out of most of my altcoin positions. I still have them open. I just took out, basically, I took out profits and left moon bags, and I took a loss in one position. But Solana was my biggest, so my Solana position was up 15%. It was green in a sea of red, and I tweeted out, I'm taking profits here.
Yeah,
Just,
I saw
this
that.
looks very fragile to me. So I did that. I left my story position open, though, because I think it has a little bit more to run if Bitcoin does well. But uh, I think, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. I think if we get one more big leg up in Bitcoin, like up to like I said, most optimistic for me is like 92, 93K, most optimistic scenario. I think that's potentially it, or at least there's a really high risk of going up, hitting those levels, and then having a
That.
big reversal. Is that what you're thinking?
I don't think we even get that much big of a move, but like that would be my like so 92 is my level where like I would then consider changing my bias if and when we are trading above it. Like that, like for a sustained period of time, like a couple days, a week.
Yeah.
That's anything underneath there bearish, anything going up into it would be shorts. But once you get the higher up you get from the 80s to the 90s, that's where you're gonna be very careful because I would then change I could flip my bias then. It's like that's the pivot point, right? But I just don't know if we get that momentum. I don't know where it's
So,
going to come from. Yeah.
so with you being a bear right now, and I'm super, super cautious, and I am definitely leaning more so towards bear as well, probably like 65%, 60%, even if we do get an extra leg up. Where do you think, where are you targeting a potential air quotes bottom? And you can be like a general range.
So, well, I've been asked that question a lot, and for me, it's like it's going to sound not like the right answer. I'm like, I don't care. It's like so, I do
Yeah.
get like it's almost like I. So my range to answer your question, I don't know, 75K to 50, because like so it like really depends on how much. Again, with everything being so connected, if there is another leg down for stocks, I think Bitcoin could go down below 60, like no problem. In general, if it's able to kind of stocks are able to hang on and find some maybe 5% of their pullback and go sideways, Bitcoin then maybe 75, which is kind of the retest of this, or maybe a little higher low from the move down earlier this month. But to me, in general, is that when I say I don't care, I've now finally grappled with I'm waiting to buy an uptrend. I want to buy an uptrending market that where there's clear strength. So me buying at 55K or 60K doesn't matter. Or me right now buying at
Sure.
84K versus 92K doesn't matter. If I think it's going to go to a quarter million or $1 million in one day, I'd rather wait for some confidence of being some clarity. I'm like, hey, we're going in this direction, and as of right now, the current direction is down. So for and that and like the analogy uses the cruise ship or it can't just turn around like on a dime. It's going to take some time to rotate. So the signs will be very clear, in my opinion, of when it's absolutely time to buy. Not saying you can't accumulate. I mean, that's if I like the Evan approach, which is the buying that you're doing it too. Maybe for one point, where you're buying X amount every single week forever, like that type of dollar cost averaging. I support 100%, but I think target dollar cost averaging here is very very difficult because of the instability of markets or uncertainty of markets.
Yeah. And for everybody who's curious, if you follow gaps on Bitcoin's futures chart. If you don't know what a gap is, basically there's a zero price action between two different candles. One candle hops up because the future market opens and closes, but Bitcoin's price keeps moving, right? There is a gap, and I didn't finish that thought. Basically, price moves in the future to close those gaps. There's a gap further down, price goes down to fill that gap. There's a gap further up, price goes up to fill that gap, roughly over 90% of the time. And there is a gap on the 4-hour time frame for Bitcoin. So keep that in mind. 4-hour time frame gaps are less impactful and important than on the daily. But there's a gap on Bitcoin's futures chart all the way down at $54,000. That's just something to keep your eyes out. But that's on the 4-hour time frame, not as impactful. But Doug, thanks for hopping up here to give your quick thoughts and stuff. I accidentally did it, but it was a happy accident. So you got anything else to share or anything else about the markets?
Nope. Just gonna be here every day, just watching it, regardless of what happens. That's it.
I'll ask you this on your way out, Doug. You mentioned, the non-financial advice about gold, assuming, one particular direction that we could take. Should we go that way? And I'm curious because I've honestly never looked, and I'm not sure if you've checked, but so gold is obviously doing pretty well right now because you have a tremendous amount of uncertainty and fear all over the place, and it's just respected as that asset, which is what Bitcoin could be. It's just too young. It's not known enough. There's still plenty of fear and skepticism and all that kind of stuff, a knowledge gap around it. I'm curious if the gold chart, is that something that people also do, the same kind of TA? This might be a stupid question. The same kind of TA on a chart like that, like something that is so disjointed from everything else or behaves differently, or would you see the same patterns there? And then I guess, is there any method for tracking connection or similarity between gold to try to determine, its potential to decouple from everything else? Because that's obviously been one of those other comments now. Stocks are weaker, more fear laden. We're seeing bigger pivots and drops and whatever in the stock charts than we are Bitcoin's chart, which is bonkers. And Bitcoin's doing pretty well, all things considered, right now. So I'm kind of curious, just about the marriage between those two assets.
Yeah, no, and for me, with charts and everything now, I'm realizing a chart's a chart, right? And a lot of markets move the same way based on, the feelings and emotions. And I look for more a healthy chart where things are just, it's almost very wavy, right? Where it's you just see it's almost oh, it looks like art almost to me if you zoom out, and there's clearly a direction it's going. So to answer your question, but gold also too is now, and it was just at all-time highs the last couple times this month. So with price discovery, when it gets to that point, it can do its own thing. And to your point there, it can just decouple and continue just to accelerate higher. But with something like this, I just look for opportunities on pullbacks to slowly just to scale it. Now it's definitely overextended right now, 100%. And so if it gold pulls back in the low 3200s, high 3100s, I think that's a nice sweet spot to get in. I don't know if it'll happen. But additionally, what you just said as well, I've been now using other markets. It's so the fact that everything is interconnected, I've been using gold, oil, the dollar, and treasury yields is kind of my I have a screen up here. It just has those on it, where if gold is sending and oil starting to become weak, because oil's had fell off and now it's in a rising wedge, and oil to me is a good indicator of demand or lack of demand from it's my recession indicator right now. So if oil rolls over and gold is sending, that to me is just those two alone is a risk off, just short stuff, stocks, crypto down. Then you add on top a weak dollar, and if yields start moving again from the treasury side of the equation, that's a, I want to say a bonus. That's not a good scenario on top of the things, and then that's even further down. So if those four things, all of them are hitting at the same time, I'm out. I'm adding more shorts. That's basically, and I'm not overcomplicating because it seems like that's where it is, and that's it. I know it was a long answer to Alex's question. He does such a good answer. He just left. So
And Doug, I wanted. Oh, sorry, Alex. Did you have a follow up?
No, that was good. That's kind of what I was That's what I was nosy about. I did hear you.
I know.
Doug, I wanted to ask you this because I haven't been able to research it myself, and you might know the answer to this. But for those of you guys who don't know, in any audience, well, you probably know the United States has a lot of gold, right? Has a big gold reserve, but we price that gold at $44 as opposed to the $3,300 that it's priced at in market value. And there's conversations going on at the White House to refresh that accounting. However, that has to be approved by Congress, I believe. To then, be like, hey, we actually have a ton of money. It'd be about $800 billion, $900 billion, and then use that to go, do stuff. But it seems silly to me that we wouldn't. So, Doug, I was curious if you know why the United States prices its gold at $44 instead of $3,300 at market value.
Candidly, I've never heard that. I maybe I did at one point. I have no idea. Now I want to go look it up.
Yeah. Because I found out about it and I was like, what? And I saw someone talk about it and I went on Google and I was like, I verified it. It is true. And I've seen some arguments as to why like senators in Congress might not want that to happen, but it doesn't seem to carry a whole lot of water because like why wouldn't we want to account for our gold store appropriately?
Or at least reassess it and maybe move it up a little bit. Because I've seen that number to me seems like a number that's been the same way for a long time. That's my just gut without knowing anything that's there. So why not have it at least? And I get it. You want to be conservative on like a benchmark pricing. Like you don't want it to, from a budget standpoint, maybe, or just a balance sheet. You want to use a lower number than maybe the market rate. Cool, but like that number seems way out of whack.
Yeah, it makes it feel like one of the things that Trump is doing is creating an environment where the value of gold goes up a lot, and then we just do an update to our accounting, and all of a sudden we have $1 trillion in gold to then spend on stuff. Maybe buy Bitcoin, but it seems like it just seems odd to me. So I haven't researched it. I was curious if you were hip to it.
No.
I'll end up doing more research. I plan on making a video on it.
I'm curious about that. So then you say I'm not going to look it up now. So you're going to do it. I'll watch your video. I'm not doing any work. Thank you in advance.
Son of a bitch.
By the way, I'll leave in this note. So, kidding aside, like outsourcing and finding people to do the things you don't have time for is the number one best thing I've learned in crypto. Even way back when I was like very into NFTs, very into researching projects, and now I do like more just TA and analysis. There's only so much time you have in a day. So find the people who are doing the smart things in the areas where you're not focused on and find the good ones and follow them and stick to them. And then that's how you like you're outsourcing research essentially. Because outside of it, you can't do everything. Like I've won in the past, like I want to do everything. I want to know everything, but I can't. It's not realistic. I realized that a long time ago. So again, right now I'll defer it to Will. So thank you.
You're welcome to everybody.
All right, guys. You have a good Thursday here, and we'll definitely talk soon.
See you, dude.
Good night.
Right, peace. Seahawks.
Oh, that was a happy accident.
It's nice when that works out. So,
Yeah, right.
The Bitcoin dominant. I'm curious. The chart, the Bitcoin dominance chart includes OTC trades, or does it rather? So, over the counter trading is not doesn't directly impact the market with regards to logged trades on centralized platforms. This would basically be the equivalent of Will having a lot of Bitcoin and me having a lot of money and Will deciding to sell it to me and then me sending him money and him sending me Bitcoin. So they do just come across as transfers. So, the dominance chart is not one that OTC trading would be reflected in because OTC trading itself does not impact price or market movements at all. It's just transfers with off-chain payment usually. The interesting thing about it is that psychologically, of course, it can move the market if a significant volume of OTC buying, over-the-counter buying, starts to take place and people get curious who's buying, speculations, trying to connect wallets, all that kind of stuff. It's that's about the only way, but it wouldn't impact dominance at all, except for a secondary effect after price was affected psychologically from just speculation around over-the-counter buying. But it happens all the time. That's how big fish are buying. Like if MicroStrategy is buying, they're not going on Coinbase and making a market buy. It's all over the counter.
Yeah, and then also just like over the counter market isn't where I would go to see the effect on Bitcoin dominance, because typically over the counter is just I'm buying Bitcoin or Ethereum, like big volume. Like the only people who do over the counter are people who are buying in large volumes. And in that case, you're probably just buying Bitcoin. Maybe people were buying some Ethereum because those are the only things that really bought over the counter. And it's really just Bitcoin. So over the counter isn't really going to affect Bitcoin dominance because it's not like recorded in the spot market, right? It's not really even really recorded in the markets at all. The only place where it's recorded is on OTC desk volume. So there's nothing really about OTC desks that affect Bitcoin dominance. Not in any meaningful way, like there's ever so slight way, because like things are changing hands, but then maybe that person sells their Bitcoin and buys some altcoins, But that's
yeah. It's an interesting question. It's all at least lightly related, but not directly. Hold on, I lost it. This is an interesting question. What do you think the true price of Bitcoin is? Which obviously, this is, and correct me if I'm wrong. Nope, is implying that given rampant speculation, all of the fear injected in the price gets confused. Assigned price, like the market trading price, gets confused on things. Things get overinflated. You see this a lot in crypto. We've talked about this a lot. At the height of a bull run, you have way overinflated, overvalued projects trading at crazy levels that just make no sense because it's all hype. At that point, you kind of basically just get into greater fool theory. No one's buying token XYZ at this price because they're like, wow, what a great price. They're like, I think this is going to, manipulate or speculate up higher, and I can sell this for more to somebody else who's taking the same bet with more risk than I am. So honestly, right now, I would kind of put forth some light guesswork to say that usually, or theoretically, when you are not in like full-blown bear where everything has just absolutely cratered and we're looking at 90+% down on all kinds of stuff, Bitcoin's fallen down by more than half, that kind of a thing, we were seeing like undervalued. Like it was not that long ago that Bitcoin was trading in the high teens. Really wasn't that long ago. That would have been, severely undervalued, as demonstrated then by how quickly it turned around and pushed all the way to 100. I feel like now you're kind of starting to get back down towards something that might be considered more of a true valuation because it's just flat, confused. There's plenty of fear. There's still plenty of like excitement. They're really kind of meeting head to head price wise as you have bears and bulls kind of duking it out with many reasons to crater, many reasons to go back up higher. I feel like now is a little bit closer to what I would call maybe some kind of true value, but it's very hard to say.
I would say it is $65,420. Now $65,419. Let's see if it changes again. No, yeah, $65,419 is what I would say.
Is that an indicator?
It's the middle of the Bollinger Bands. Oh. So the Bollinger Bands, and let me make this just a little cleaner. Doop, doop, doop. Let me show you my charts. Here is your Bollinger Bands, right? It shows where price is getting constricted and explosions and all that kind of stuff. And when you're undervalued and when you're overvalued is when you're over this middle line, which is a general rule of thumb for the true value of Bitcoin. And we can see that is now at $65,420.
Interesting.
But that's just a general rule of thumb. I mean, what is the true value of Bitcoin? Who knows?
That was one of the TA tools that I had back in the day when I was like, I'm going to learn how to do all this stuff. I remember the bands, and now I'm trying to...
I'm
trying to reach back into the caverns of my memory. I feel like it was the only thing I really remember was when they constrict and tighten, you are like looking for it's one of the indicators of a breakout, either up or down, like out of the constriction. But I don't know. I wouldn't bet money on that. me
No,
wrong?
that was right. Yeah, when it constricts, you're then looking for a big move either to the upside or the downside.
Okay.
You got it.
So then that in conjunction with other stuff, obviously, you're looking at more. So is that line, that true line, is that determined by a whole bunch of other things plus Bollinger Bands, or is that just kind of following averages?
I don't remember.
Interesting.
I don't remember. I don't use the Bollinger Bands too much just because I want to know which way the move is likely to go. I don't really care to know if it's going to be a big move or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, so that's what I use as my just super quick true value of Bitcoin. What is it? Middle of the Bollinger Band? All right, probably somewhere around there.
So what's your go-to lineup then of indicators? Like if you have, a chart that's not super decked out or whatever, because I feel like you usually, like when I see you highlight charts and patterns or things that you're watching and whatnot, you're not pulling like, some of the things I've seen people draw on charts. It's just like, there's so much drawing and so many arts and crafts on these things. What is your like go-to palette of indicators? Do you mostly just do moving averages or?
Exponential moving averages, the 12, 21, 55, and the 200. So I use those four to find areas of support and resistance. With the stochastic RSI, I use those together. And then next I use the MACD, and then I also use the regular RSI as well, as I want to just kind of start peeling back layers. And those are the only indicators that I use for the most part.
So let's see what I can remember. So RSI is the relative strength index, and that is that volume based?
The relative strength index is not volume based. Also, volume's a bad indicator on crypto right now because the ETFs have like removed a lot of the volume. So you can actually have price go up in a confident way and still have low volume. But no, relative strength index and stochastic RSI, which are just another layer of that, is looking at price action. It's aggregate price action over an extended period of time, over like all of Bitcoin's history. Stochastic RSI is an aggregate of price action, but weighted more so towards recent price action. So stochastic RSI is more volatile, where RSI will be slower. So RSI can give you more clear signals of when to buy and when to sell. But depending on what time frame of the chart you're looking at, it changes. Your buying and sell signals change. Like the RSI is really good at telling you when to buy on the daily time frame. It's not really good at telling you when to sell on the daily time frame, in my opinion, but it's really good at telling you when to sell on the monthly chart. So there's a little bit of nuance, in my opinion.
And then MACD has something to do with the averages, is about all I remember.
Yeah, it's just a different measurement of momentum. These are all momentum indicators to tell you kind of which way the price is kind of swinging. And then if you use that in conjunction, in my opinion, with exponential moving averages, you can get a pretty damn good sense. And then past that, anything else, I feel like you're just kind of getting a little bit too busy on your chart. And different things work for different folks. And then you have to read candle patterns, and then you're good to go, in my opinion. You can at least work with that. And there are certain things that work better for other people. Like I've been trying to get better at Elliott wave theory over the past couple months or so. So it's something I'm trying to just kind of add into my repertoire to get better at looking at the chart. Because when I look at the chart, I don't natively see the Elliott wave yet. Whereas I can look at a chart and immediately go, oh, there's this, there's this, there's this, da, 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 da. I have to like sit there and be like, where's the first wave? What is the Elliott wave theory? It's not like native to my brain.
So
then I use a bunch of tools in conjunction, like I use Fibonacci retracement, the Fibonacci extension tool. Those are good ways of finding additional areas of support. But if your question was just indicators, it's the exponential moving averages and the stochastic RSI are my go-to. And then when I want to peel back extra layers, MACD, RSI. That's it.
So as you're looking at all these now, how has the way that you look at these charts using these indicators, because you've obviously been doing this for a number of years, how has it changed given now the idea that the single most impactful thing on any of these charts is a completely unpredictable tweet?
Nothing.
Really?
Yeah, no, it hasn't changed a single thing. I mean, you have your technical indicators, and you might have that indicator get invalidated or validated. But even in the case of like the bear flag pattern I had, that basically was like, hey, Bitcoin could go to 50, 60,000. That still hasn't been invalidated yet, by the way. But you could have still shorted it, because you would have shorted that move, and you could have made a move right when we had that break of 11% on Bitcoin. If you shorted, you could have gotten 11% short on Bitcoin, more on altcoins. You could have closed out that short before we had this low recovery to where we've had here. So like the breakout of that still worked. It's just that now it's kind of come back up to where it is. But, at the end of the day, we still haven't had that invalidated. We've had certain things invalidated. But, if we fall here, that bear flag is still totally valid. We had a descending wedge that was a bullish pattern that got invalidated. So, I mean, I'm rambling here. So let me take a step back and circle up the thought here. It's the tweets that we're getting out of the White House are effective. I would say short-term timeframes are harder to read, but long-term timeframes, your technicals are still totally solid. Like there's nothing that really changes there. So I guess I'll say a little bit has changed for me in the sense that short-term timeframes are a little noisy, and you kind of need to step back and look at the weekly chart and the monthly chart, and those technicals are still absolutely correct so far. So I guess that would be my answer to you. So,
because I like the thing that hangs me up that I struggle to see how it could remain connected unless we're just hopping from pattern to pattern would be, okay, so let's say you have one scenario that looks like it's kind of playing out. Nothing is necessarily, heavily crushing things. It's just sort of like general market movements, and you're tracking, I don't know, some kind of a pattern using some set of your indicators. In crypto, and now in the rest of the markets, thanks to the way that the White House is talking about stuff with, no rhyme or reason, you have this ability for like a single event to just explode or crater price out of nowhere, which obviously you can't predict. There's no TA to predict that something is about to rug or something is about to just get the most bullish announcement of all time and explode into the stratosphere. So I guess I'm just curious, like if you have assets that do that so often, how does that not just jack up everything, all the patterns and stuff that people like you are like looking for and tracking and watching in these charts, if they can just explode up or down out of nowhere?
Those moves are typically still happening in a pattern, and they typically still don't break that pattern. Like the only time where it really happens consistently is if you are right on the edge of validating or breaking a pattern, then you have that tweet happens, and then it just makes the pattern happen, right? Or you have a big pattern that you're trading in, some tweet happens and it feels like a really big move, but you're still just trading within this technical analysis pattern that's still happening. So, I mean, I have seen very few instances where any of these tweets have caused the total invalidation of any pattern yet, except for the escalation of the trade war initially out the gate, because the macro environment totally switched. And that got rid of our ability for Bitcoin to go up to 100K, like 2 months ago, or a month and a half ago, or what it was. So there's only been one instance of a TA pattern being broken so far this year from any of these tweets.
That is really interesting, because and
I'm talking on the daily time frame. I'm sure if you zoomed in and you were doing stuff on the 1 hour time frame and stuff, which you should not be doing unless you're a day trader, and 99% of people should not be a day trader. I'm sure on the 1 hour time frame you have things being broken all the time by these tweets.
Yeah, I find that so fascinating, because it doesn't seem like that would be the case at all. It seems like crazy volatility would just be invalidating stuff left and right. Like, Was
I
there?
mean, you do have crazy volatility, but it's still swinging in areas that are within the range of acceptable range to still have these patterns be valid. Except for that descending wedge I was talking about a while ago, which got invalidated basically back in like March. It was last month.
But like, if we were to look at the mantra chart, nobody on Earth was calling for that to happen because that was not a chart-related event.
No, but that also isn't necessarily what we're talking about, right? That's not like a tweet from the White House, right? That is every single whale, every single whale near the same time creating cascading sell orders and then mass liquidations, right? Yeah, TA can't predict that, of course. That's why you have to, do some altcoin research and pull up a blockchain explorer and see if 90% of the supply of the token is held within the top 100 holders, creating a risky scenario for either a rug pull or, what happens when 5 of those big whales sell. All of them are going to sell in a panic, creating a 90% drop.
And that was kind of my point. Like with an asset class like crypto, you have this potential that, things including established multi-billion-dollar market cap projects can have that happen and crater. But at the same time, you could also have the inverse of that, where you have some small project and all of a sudden, someone like BlackRock is like, hey, that's cool. We're using it. And then a shitload of people pile in and buy all at the same time with cascading market buys just up and up and up and up. And I feel like those two events would be really not chartable ahead of time, which just so that's the risk that you run all the time, I guess.
Yeah. It's I mean, that's the reason why you have buy the rumor, sell the news. Because if you have a known news event, you have a pattern that gets formed up to then ride the explosive wave upwards to that news. That's why you can typically set a price target for where you think that top-ish is going to be, and then you have that. But when you have a news event that isn't unknown, it's something that moves the market immediately. But that's much more rare than planned events, So there's always a little bit of unpredictability, sure.
So let's take this back. There was a really good question that was basically just, if I'm brand new and I'm trying to learn about the things that you guys are talking about from the absolute beginning, what would you suggest? And so I would echo Eddie's comment in the chat just to say we do have a completely free to join Discord server, the links to which are in both Will and my bio. And if for whatever reason the invitation doesn't work, just shoot one of us a message or leave us a comment and we'll get you a fresh one. Sometimes TikTok breaks that invite link for some reason, and I feel like I go weeks without hearing that it's broken, and then weeks where every single person's like, it doesn't work. And I'm like, okay.
It doesn't work. Yeah.
Same link. But that server is completely free to join and ask a question. If you have a question for the show and it doesn't, we're not able to pick it up during the stream. Sometimes if we have a guest or whatever, way too many questions to keep up with come in, you can jump over there, post it. There's a bunch of super helpful people that can help you get it figured out. We're in there, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so if you receive a DM from someone that looks like us, it is not us. We will not DM you first.
Yeah, I'm very sorry. Just by leaving a comment on this stream, you've opened yourself up to receiving follows from people.
A whole bunch of scammers.
Profile pictures that look like ours and usernames that are similar to ours. And it's never us. Anyone who sends you a DM is not us. If you're trying to get a hold of us, it's the only way is going to be in public in like that server or right here as the accounts are streaming. These are our only 2 accounts. And there are no others, and neither of these accounts will ever send you an unprompted direct message. So just please be careful. And that happens in Discord too. Annoyingly, they are on every social platform where you have an account that can receive messages. There are scammers and impersonators. So beyond the Discord server, though, Will, I'll let you give your plug here in a second, but I've been working to kind of curate all of my videos into playlists over the last how many years, and I have one called Crypto Basics. It's full of all sorts of stuff, including like an action plan to get started, with steps if you've never done a single thing before, and all sorts of other stuff if you've started to mess with things and you're a little bit farther in, you're level 1 or level 2, out of this whole scheme. And then honestly, the best thing is to tune into the show and just ask literally whatever you're curious about, whatever you're trying to learn. There are no dumb questions. I say all the time, any question asked honestly and authentically is not a dumb question. I don't care how basic it seems like it is. This is the place for it. So ask away.
And also, I learned about trading through like YouTube for free. I wasn't much on Twitter. There were just a few like people I followed who I just watched their videos and their breakdowns and their market updates and stuff, and I slowly kind of picked up on what they did. If you want a sped up version that you can pay for, I did do a over 2 hour course on indicators, candle patterns, trading, how to set up your trading view chart and all that kind of stuff a number of months ago now. I'm pretty sure the recording is available for $50 if you want. You can learn this stuff for free. It'll just take longer. It's just an expedited way to do it. That's available on the riseupmorningshow.com. And I just got the question, William, how is the Bitcoin chart looking today? I put out an update video before this, and basically what I said is if Bitcoin can get above 85 to 86.5K, we could have another big leg up. We could, maybe. That's also the point where maybe it stops, right? So keep that. 85K is kind of like a big number right now, 85, 86. If we break below basically $83,000, get ready for a big fall. So those are the key levels, 83K to like 86K, in those ranges, right? To get above or below. And that's what we're looking at the moment. In my eyes, in my view. There you have it. That's how I'd be playing it. And I did take profits on Solana. I took profits on a couple other positions. I got rid of one position too that was at a loss, but it was my third smallest position. But that's fine because tax loss harvesting against my profits. I made 14%, 14.7% on Solana. I made just 4% on Ondo, and I lost 4% on Aptos. But that's fine. That was my third smallest. I still have my full Story IP position open, and I obviously still have all of my Bitcoin, and I have my stable coins sitting on the sideline because even if we get one more leg up in Bitcoin, like Doug mentioned earlier, if you guys were here when he was chatting, I'm very worried that that's like the last leg up. And if I'm wrong, that's fine, and I'll buy back in when the market shows strength. That's what I'm doing. Alex, you're just kind of Solana's green, I'm selling some. Solana's red, I'm buying some.
Yeah, it's really the only asset that I am routinely trading, just because it's a larger position with respect to my portfolio. So I have the Bitcoin pile, which exclusively gets bigger. I couldn't give less of a shit about what that thing is doing price wise. I have a little bit. I buy. I put it away. It's all in cold storage. It never sees the light of day. The Solana position is the one that I've been working with this particular market cycle, just because in the past I've bought really heavy, made significant profit, refused to sell because I was like, no, this can't be the top. Round trip the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Because just a little piece of wisdom that I've earned with lots of pain is, when things start to crater, you never react the way that you think you're going to if you are not prepared for it, if you don't have a plan, if you're not like emotionlessly looking at it. 2021, the most recent large crater, you had this crazy explosion run up in November of 2021. And then you never had like a single day that was just like 40% gone, which is what people were kind of conditioned to believe was going to happen. It was just like, it's just going to bleed. And you just get into this vicious cycle of it's falling a little bit. Okay, well, I don't want to be in this anymore. This isn't making me feel good. I just needed to recover back to the last time, like my break even or whatever, and then I'll get out of it. It just needs to swing back up one more swing, and I'll take the next pump. It does that. It doesn't go quite as high as you wanted to, and then you don't do anything because it wasn't quite where you wanted it to be. It goes back down again, and now you're just twisting the knife as you go farther and farther, thinking like, no, okay, just regain the previous all-time high, just get back to my break even, just go up 10%, whatever. And that never happens. And all of a sudden, before you know it, you've round tripped the whole position.
Yeah.
I refuse to, and I did that 2 bull runs in a row. So I refuse to do it again. So basically with Solana, when it's super red and I'm like, that's insane, I buy it. When it gets then super green and I'm like, that's insane, I sell it. And it's really, truly that simple. I never look at charts. I don't do anything except wake up and look at like CoinGecko and see what the percentage is for the day and the week and make a decision. And if I see double digits on the day is my rule of thumb, double digits on the day up or down, I usually make some sort of a move there. And so the last trade that I did was Solana went under 100, which I had been saying was like what I wanted for months. It did it.
This is true.
It did it barely. I hit 97 and I had buys at 99, 99, 98, 95, 90. And I caught the 98 one. And then within a week, not even, no, wow, a week. No, it was like within a day or two, it was like 30%. You know, there was the tariff pause news, whatever, 30%. Solana's back at 130. I sold a lot at a 30% profit on that purchase. And that's basically the only, that's how I behave and navigate all of this, like right now. And it's worked.
Yeah. Sometimes you just got to keep it that simple and then just stick to your guns and then not get emotional. Go, oh, it's there. Cool. My rule is triggered. Sell some.
Yep.
And another thing too that I realized, because my first trip, my first cycle in 2017, round tripped a bag all the way down. And the next cycle I sold, but I didn't sell as aggressively as I should have, but improvements. And then this cycle I've done much better. And one thing I would say was a realization, because there's that emotional thought of like, oh, I just need to get back up to my break-even point. And that doesn't happen. And then the crypto markets fall, your position loses another 50, 60, 70% or whatever from where it was. I've done the math backwards. I'm like, if I had sold, let's say my bag was down 40 or 50% or something. If I had sold and stopped myself from going down another 70%, and I had started to dollar cost average with that same amount of money as when I had actually started to dollar cost average normally, like I would have made so much more money because I protected my capital sum and then waited for, a real true bottom, dollar cost averaged in, and I would have made my money back in like a month after being down for, several months, because that's just how fast crypto can move. Mm-hmm. So, I would say the biggest and most, the fastest way that you can make money is preserve your capital, be patient, and then when you start to see a true bottom, when you start to see everybody say Bitcoin's dead and it's all a scam and all that stuff, and it looks like things have cratered to a point where Bitcoin can never recover from, then you dollar cost average in with that money that you preserved, hold for a number of months, and you're pretty good, right? That's for Bitcoin, right? And then you have a select few altcoins that you can do that with as well. Maybe. But then you just you wait until things are bullish and you dollar cost average into some things you have conviction in, and it can be a really, really good play. But the first step there is capital preservation. You have to make sure you're not losing money, and then just wait for an opportunity. It might take several months, might take a year even. But if you're patient, you buy in, you will make so much money so quickly.
Yeah, and that sentiment is crazy. That's exactly how, and yeah, the timing is sketchy at best. I vividly remember watching the decline at the end of 2021, and then all of 2022 was just painful, and most of 2023 was painful, and that was it. I still went to conferences in between those two times. In fact, I went to a lot of conferences. I went to a dozen just between those 2 points, the end of the 2021 run and the beginning of this last one. And it was just, attendance was just bleeding to the point where I was at, I forget, a Quantum Miami, which was like the reincarnation of the North American Bitcoin conference, which was a relatively new one that never really continued or anything. And the final time in 23 that Mac and I were there, we were there with like 8 other people. Like the first time they had rented out this entire conference center. It was huge arena, big stages, multiple stages, trade floor, all the hallways full of smaller booths. And this time it was literally, we had the space in one of those hallways outside of one of the auditoriums. There were like 12 sponsors. They were really tiny.
Yeah.
And we basically just went and had coffee and talked to like the same 6 people for the entire conference. But like those people who were there are, let's see, who do I know that they were either the griftiest grifters just still trying to, scam a buck, or they were just die-hard builders. And that's exactly what the sentiment was. Everyone was like, nah, dude, you guys screwed up. I can't believe you're still paying attention to this stuff. It's all over. It's all dead. Right now, that's not the vibe at all. It's a bunch of people living in denial, which is either the beginnings of a multi-year bear spell, or it's just a blip, because also, to take it back to 2021, just go look at the big charts over the summer of that year. They were awful. It was months of just bloodbath.
I do think, though, that the year-long bear market, I don't think that's going to happen. Assuming, of course, prices fall here. I don't think that will happen because
maybe
you still have the potential for like that Bitcoin bill and like more adoption of Bitcoin and crypto in the United States that I think would happen over the next 9 months.
Maybe. It's one of those things. Congress could just dick around for a year and a half. They could get distracted pick any number of horrendously distracting things that are happening right now.
You mean they're going to be distracted at having the Supreme Court's 9-0 ruling be totally ignored by the president and now be held in criminal contempt of court?
Yeah, they've got a lot on their plate. And I would not be surprised if the Financial Services Committee is not able to ram legislation through that everyone is overly politically charged about. Like, it's just, there are so many things to contend with right now. And even in a good year, Congress moves so slow.
Mm-hmm.
That, like, I don't know. I'm not personally holding my breath for anything major in a legislative way this year, but it is too early to tell. And we have seen legislation get rammed through very quickly before. We're just living in the upside down as far as Congress is concerned. So,
yeah. But I got to go. And I know you have a hard stop too. So everybody knows this is a shorter show, but we got to run. So guys, if you have any other questions that we are not able to get to, hop into the Discord, free to join, give us a tag in the general section or in the lounge. If you are a premium or premium plus member, you can join the Discord by going to theriseupmorningshow.com or by clicking the links in one of our bios. If it doesn't work, send us a DM. We will get to it eventually and send you a link that you can join. But
we will get you. But,
and on the bright side, on maybe the best news of all, when we are back on the live show Monday morning, Evan will be back. We will be back on YouTube and Twitter and the LinkedIn and the Facebook live. And, the show will be run properly.
Yes, Mom will be back on Monday. And this garage band version of the Rise Up Morning Show will be but a happy distant memory.
Exactly.
But I do.
You know what? Other than yesterday morning, I think we did a pretty good job last night and today.
Oh, last night was awesome. That was like such a good blast from the past, old After Dark. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to do one of those with Evan in the near future. We should just block one out for no guests and run it again with the bigger whiteboard and get more things. I love your "we got distracted" note on the whiteboard.
Oh yeah, yeah. We had a lot of tangents. But yeah, see you guys.
Thanks for hosting, Will.
Time to ride our cats and cows into the sunrise. Yeah.
There you go.
See you guys.
See you guys.